Hi, this is going to be the last in this series about the instruments that I use in making my music. And in a way, I'm going to kind of end at the beginning. A while back, when I was in my mid 20s, I was still basically a rock and pop guitar player. I did a lot of touring, but I felt that I was getting called more and more towards playing jazz guitar. And one thing that I realized was that I would have to change my playing style and the instruments that I was using. Up until then, I'd been using things like the Gibson Les Paul, and I kind of went through a transition phase where I used the thin line hollow body Gibson Es 335 type guitars, but I still wasn't getting the sound I wanted. I still wasn't getting the fat, woody sound of the jazz guitar that you get from a full size hollow body. So I went to London with the intention really of buying a Gibson ES 175 because that was the guitar everybody used. And by then, this was the late 80s. Gibson were back to making some fine instruments. They had been through a bit of a poor period during the 70s, but they were getting their act together by then. The thing I found though was that some of the 175s I played one or two. They were really nice instruments, but they felt kind of cold to me, and I wasn't really convinced that that was the guitar for me. And then I saw this guitar in a corner of a store, and I asked the store clerk if I could maybe try it and see how I got on with it. And his reaction was quite strange because I think he thought, well, why is this guy trying an expensive Gibson guitar and then wanting to try that Washburn copy? But the thing is, I think he had this guitar all wrong there. Although the Washburn is modelled on the ES 175, it has the same sharp cutaway, it's the same 16-inch body size. It differs in a number of radical ways. Firstly, the wood's used on this guitar. It has a solid spruce top. It's not carved like this more expensive Gibson L4 guitar here. It's heat pressed into shape, but it is still solid, and we've taken out the pickups to confirm that. If you go to the back of the guitar, it's featured with this really outrageously deep flame maple and finished in a beautiful honey sunburst finish, which is rare. You normally find darker finishes on archtop jazz guitars. Another useful feature of this instrument is that the neck is made of multiple laminate shims, which makes it very rigid and very stable. I once made the mistake of going on tour and leaving this guitar in its case at home tuned up, which is something you should never do. But when I came back some 2 years later, the guitar was not only in fine condition, the neck hadn't bent or warped in any way, it was still perfectly in tune, which is amazing. I should also point out that the Washburn J-10, that's what this guitar is maybe a quarter to a half inch less deep than either an ES 175 or an L4 CES, and that makes it easier to hold, especially for a person with a smaller frame like me. Other features of the guitar, they really spared no expense on making this kind of hyper 175. Has a ebony fretboard. The inlays on the fretboard are both mother of pearl and abalone. I changed the pickups. The original pickups were fine, but I changed them for a Gibson Classic 57 in the neck position and a 498T, which is a slightly hotter pickup over here in the bridge position. They have improved the sound, made it a little more mellow, but added a little punch at the same time. Other things that I changed on the instrument, this pickguard here, I had this made in kind of like mother of pearl to feature the other fittings on the guitar, and we also had this truss rod cover made at the same time. So of all the instruments that I've shown you, I think this guitar, which was incidentally only made for 1 year in 1989, so it's a very rare instrument, this is probably the one that is this closest to my heart. It's something that I haven't seen other players play that much. The tone of the instrument, similar to the L4 CES, a little brighter maybe. And it's perfectly even, and it sounds to me like the sound I hear in my head when I imagine what a jazz guitar should sound like. I've used it on all of my records. It's this CD here, this is Warm Ghosts in a Cold World. This is on the Innervision record label. 100% of the guitar playing on this record was done with the Washburn here. And I have another CD from 2003, also on Innervision. This is The Gift. I guess I played about 80% of The Gift on on this guitar. I used another guitar for one or two of the tracks on it. Engineers seem to like it because the sound is very even. Archtop guitars can have a very wide dynamic range. In other words, they can go from very quiet to very loud, whereas this one's pretty stable in the middle, which helps when you're trying to sit the sound in a mix. So, you know, the fact that engineers like it and I like it, the fact that it's 20 years old and still plays like new, it's a great instrument and certainly one of my favorites. But I would like to add at the end of all of this, you know, we've been through a journey. I've shown you some frankly exotic and expensive guitars, but you really don't need an expensive guitar to make a great sound. 90% of what comes out of your amplifier will be the music that's in your heart and in your fingers. So don't forget that on your journey. See you out there.